There are moments in life when fear grips you so tightly that every breath feels like a struggle. This is the story of one such moment, a moment that left an indelible mark on my soul, a moment that made me question the very fabric of reality itself. It was a foggy autumn evening when my friend Mike and I decided to take a leisurely drive through the countryside. The dense mist hung in the air like a shroud, cloaking everything in an eerie silence. We were both laughing and sharing stories, oblivious to the unsettling atmosphere around us. As we drove along the narrow road, our headlights cutting through the fog, a glimmer of light caught our attention. An old car emerged from the mist, its headlights flickering like distant stars. It was a vintage beauty, the kind that belonged to a bygone era. Mike slowed down, intrigued by the sight. "Check that out," he said, his voice tinged with excitement. We stared at the car in awe as it moved ahead of us. But something was off. The car seemed to be floating, its wheels barely touching the ground. And then, in the blink of an eye, it vanished into thin air, leaving behind an echo of its engine's growl. We exchanged bewildered glances, a chill running down our spines. Without speaking a word, we both knew what we had to do. We had to follow that car. As we pursued the phantom vehicle, the fog seemed to thicken around us, swallowing us whole. The road twisted and turned like a serpent, leading us deeper into the heart of the mist. With each bend, the world around us grew more surreal, like a dream slipping into nightmare. Minutes turned into hours, yet the car remained just out of reach, tantalizing us with its spectral presence. It was as if we were trapped in a macabre dance, one where the music was the haunting melody of our own unease. And then, suddenly, the road came to an end. Before us stood an ancient mansion, its windows shattered, its walls crumbling. The air grew colder, and a sense of foreboding gripped me. The mansion exuded a malevolent energy, as if it were a sentinel guarding a long-buried secret. Mike and I exchanged apprehensive glances, our footsteps echoing through the silence as we approached the mansion. The front door creaked open as if inviting us in. Against our better judgment, we stepped inside. The interior was shrouded in darkness, illuminated only by the pale moonlight filtering through the broken windows. As we explored further, we stumbled upon an old newspaper article, its faded ink recounting the mysterious disappearance of a couple on this very road decades ago. Their car had been found abandoned, the only clue to their fate being a trail of blood leading into the fog. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized the chilling truth. The old car we had been chasing was the same one from that unsolved disappearance. Panic surged within me, and I turned to flee, but the exit had vanished. The mansion had become a labyrinth, a nightmarish puzzle with no solution. We were trapped in a time loop, reliving the horror of that long-forgotten night over and over again. The walls seemed to close in around us, the air thick with the whispers of the past. Shadows danced in the corners of my vision, and I could feel the weight of countless eyes upon us. The mansion itself was alive, a malevolent entity feeding off our fear. Mike and I screamed, our voices swallowed by the abyss as we desperately sought an escape. But the mansion had us in its clutches, a puppeteer pulling the strings of our torment. Days turned into nights, and sanity became a fragile thread. I could feel my grip on reality slipping, my mind unraveling like frayed fabric. Mike's eyes held a mixture of terror and resignation, a reflection of my own emotions. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the loop was broken. We found ourselves back on the road, the fog lifting around us. The mansion was gone, the nightmare had ended. We returned to the world of the living, forever changed by the horrors we had witnessed. The experience left scars on our souls, a constant reminder that there are forces in this world beyond our understanding, lurking in the shadows of our reality. To this day, the memory of that foggy night haunts my dreams. The phantom car, the malevolent mansion, the time loop, they all serve as a chilling testament to the unknown, a reminder that even in the safety of daylight, darkness can envelop us in its embrace. So if you ever find yourself driving through thick fog on a desolate road, and you catch a glimpse of an old car with flickering headlights, heed my warning. Turn away, for you may unknowingly step into a world where time is a prison, and the past is an eternal abyss. And remember, the past never forgets. In the realm of the supernatural, there are moments that defy explanation, moments that etch themselves into the fabric of our reality and leave us forever changed. This is the chilling tale of one such moment, a story that has haunted my dreams since that fateful night. It was on a moonless night when my friend Emily and I decided to take a late-night drive along a deserted highway. The air was heavy with an unspoken tension, as if the world itself held its breath in anticipation. As we cruised along the desolate road, a strange sensation crept over us, an inexplicable feeling that we were not alone. The first sign of the inexplicable occurred when we spotted a pair of headlights in our rearview mirror. A phantom vehicle, its form hazy and indistinct, seemed to be following us. Its headlights flickered like distant stars, casting an eerie glow on the road behind us. Emily's grip tightened on the steering wheel, her knuckles turning white. We exchanged uneasy glances, our hearts quickening in response to the unnatural sight. "Is someone following us?" Emily's voice trembled, mirroring the unease that had settled in the pit of my stomach. I turned to look out the rear window, my heart racing as the phantom vehicle grew closer. And then, with a shiver-inducing abruptness, it vanished into thin air. The road behind us stretched out in emptiness, as if the vehicle had never existed. We exchanged a mixture of disbelief and fear, the encounter leaving us speechless. But this was only the beginning of the horrors that awaited us on that forsaken highway. As we continued our journey, the fog began to roll in, thick and suffocating. It clung to the ground like a malevolent spirit, obscuring our vision and turning the world into an otherworldly haze. Our headlights cut through the fog, creating an eerie tunnel of light that seemed to only deepen the darkness around us. And then, in the distance, we saw them, ghostly figures standing by the side of the road. Their forms were indistinct, like shadows given life, and they seemed to beckon us forward with spectral hands. Dread settled over me, a heavy weight in my chest that made it difficult to breathe. "Emily, do you see that?" I whispered, my voice barely audible above the hum of the engine. Emily's gaze locked onto the figures, her face pale as a sheet. "I see them, Alex. This can't be real." As we drove closer, the details of the figures became clearer. Their faces were etched with pain and sorrow, their eyes empty yet filled with an unspoken plea. They seemed to emanate a palpable sadness, a sense of tragedy that hung in the air like a heavy shroud. Without warning, the figures vanished, dissolving into the fog as if they had never been there. We drove through the empty space they had occupied, the air around us growing colder, as if their presence had drained the warmth from the world. Our hearts pounded in our chests, and we knew we couldn't ignore the signs any longer. There was something haunting this desolate highway, something that defied the laws of the natural world. We had to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Our investigation led us to a local library, where we delved into old newspapers and records. And there, amidst the yellowed pages, we found a chilling tale that would forever alter our understanding of the world around us. Years ago, a notorious highway accident had claimed the lives of several individuals. Their vehicles had collided in a fiery crash, leaving behind a trail of devastation and heartbreak. The details of the accident were horrifying, a grim reminder of the fragility of life. As we read on, our hearts sank. The ghostly figures we had encountered were the actual victims of that notorious accident. They were trapped in a state of limbo, reliving the horror of their final moments over and over again. The realization hit us like a tidal wave, filling us with a mixture of sorrow and empathy. The ghostly figures we had encountered were not there to harm us. They were lost souls seeking release from their eternal torment. Armed with this newfound understanding, Emily and I returned to the highway, our hearts heavy with purpose. We parked our car by the side of the road and, in the darkness of the night, we spoke words of compassion and solace. We acknowledged the pain and suffering the spirits had endured, and we offered them our heartfelt wishes for peace. And then, as if in response to our words, the fog began to lift, the air growing warmer. A sense of serenity settled over the highway, as if the spirits had finally found the release they had long sought. The moon emerged from behind the clouds, bathing the road in a soft, ethereal glow. As we drove away from that haunted stretch of highway, a profound sense of closure filled our hearts. The horrors we had encountered had been replaced by a deep understanding of the bonds that connect the living and the departed. And though the memory of that night will forever linger, it serves as a reminder that even in the realm of the supernatural, compassion and empathy have the power to transcend the darkest of horrors.